Blasted exciting to be here to hear the Scribendi Winners. Woo! And so there are chairs up here. There are chairs kind of interspersed. We can get more chairs out. Tim, you might need to, no, is that it? Okay. So it's standing room only once again at Helicon West. We doubled our audience and we're still standing. So it's going to be a great night. We want to thank everyone for being here, and we want to remind you that Helicon West is done after tonight for this spring season of 2014. We're going to have summer Helicon West. Aaron and some others are in charge of summer, and we'll have it down at the Logan Library. Our friends at the Logan Library partners, Joseph Anderson is here tonight. They're always so good to let us have a room. It's going to be at the Bonneville Room, the next Helicon, on May 22nd at 7:30. So if you have things you want to read, that will be the place for it. 6 o'clock until 7:30, Aaron? Okay, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I'll have to fix that on my announcement that I sent out by the email. You should never trust me on email until I've sent it 2 or 3 times. So tonight we're going to have the Scribendi readers, the winners of the Creative Writing Contest. And we just want to give a shout out to Marina Hall, who sort of started the first Scribendi magazine. Yeah! Thanks to the USU Library and the catering, USU Catering. There's coffee, decaf, hot water for tea, there's cold water, there's treats back there, so dive in. There are 3 chairs up here, you people standing in the back, and you can also come and sit on the floor up in the front too, if you want to get comfortable. There's a chair over here, some right here. Just don't block this camera. And I wanted to remind the Scribendi readers tonight that you are being videoed. As always at Helicon West, we do a video and we post it on YouTube. So people can see you. If you do not want that posted on YouTube, you need to tell me. I'll be sitting right there. I have the red shirt on, my black jacket is right there. And if you don't want that, then you can tell me. But believe me, we've had people who have not been videoed before, and they've been very sad about it in the end. So just keep that in mind. All right, Dr. Charles Waugh is our Creative Writing Contest person. He's been doing this for a while. He's great at it. You're going to have a blast listening to him. He's going to hook this little microphone on, and let's go, Charles. Woo! Turn this off. They can clip it on. So. Or they can just hold it.
All right.
Either way, it's on.
It's on.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's on. So, thank you all for being here. Scribendi Night at Helicon. How awesome is that, right? Yeah! We've got a brand new magazine out. It's full of awesome stuff. It's on sale in the back for $10. If you got exactly $10, you are in our good graces. If you have things that need change, we appreciate you buying it, but maybe you could help us out by going to the cafe and getting all of their change. That would help us out too. So I wanted to start by saying some thank yous. The first thank you goes, of course, to Star, because she has so willingly allowed for the USU Creative Writing Contest to take over Helicon for one night, and it's always so nice for us to be able to showcase our student winners at Helicon and to have such a great event to just sort of come into. And just for all year long, a Star putting together Helicon West twice a month, and just always providing that energy and all that good energy, all that positive energy. So let's give a big round of applause for Star. So my next in my long list of people to thank comes from the contest sponsors. Of course, the English department has a huge part in that. The College of Humanities and Social Sciences has a large part in that. The Writing Center, of which Star, again, is another one of our great beneficiaries. Helicon West, like I just said. Crumb Brothers Bakery every year provides some gift certificates for our judges, just to say just a little thank you for all the time that they put into judging the contest. And of course, the Utah State University Student Association, for those of you who are still old school and think it's ASUSU, it's no longer ASUSU, it is USUSA. So go USUSA. Thank you so much to our student body government for providing the funds to make this happen. This is coming out of the student pockets. And then the student government has to decide how to allocate this stuff. And we are so lucky every year that they support the production of the magazine and the running of the contest. We couldn't make it look this awesome without those dollars. So the next time you see your Arts and Lectures Director or your USUSA student senator, give them a little pat on the back and say thank you and encourage them to continue to support us. So I would also like to thank our judges who have put in tons of their time at a very busy time in the semester to read all of the many, many submissions that we had. We had 165 submissions this year from 7 colleges, which is almost all of the colleges on campus. That means that this really is the university's creative writing and art contest. We're pulling people from all over campus. Everybody gets a chance to participate. Everybody gets a chance to come. Everybody gets a chance to listen. Everybody gets the chance to stand and be judged just like everyone else. It's a great thing that unites our entire campus. Our judges this year were Joseph Anderson, Shannon Ballum, Russ Beck, Elizabeth Benson, Paul Crumbley, Ben Gunsberg, Susan Pesty-Strobel, Paige Smitten, and Chad Van Zanten. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Without them, it would probably just be me picking stuff out of a barrel or something, and that wouldn't be any good. So this way we really ensure that the best work rises to the top. And it's so great to have such great work in Scribendi and in the contest. Tonight we are this is the first time that since I've directed the contest that every single person who won said, yes, I want to come to Helicon West and read. And that's awesome for us, but it also means that we've got to work through a lot of material tonight. We've had to decide how to allocate time. Star has very graciously given up the open mic portion to us this night, which never happens. You could bring in like the top earning poet in America, which, okay, top earning poet. You could bring in a Pulitzer Prize winning writer, and that person would not get the full time at Helicon West. They have to make room for open mic. But Star has so graciously allowed for us to do that because all of our writers wanted to read tonight, and we wanted to give everybody a chance to just give you a little bit of their winning work for tonight. So we have arranged a program with them in advance. We have given short amounts of time, which they're all supposed to be aware of and have practiced for. You've all done that, right? No laughing, that was not the answer I wanted. Yes, we practiced. It's only 5 minutes, I promise. Some of our winners will be speaking longer than others because some of them actually won in more than one category. So for example, one of our first group of readers will be Caitlin Erickson, who won for first place in nonfiction and second place in poetry. So we're going to give her a little bit more time. And there's a couple others like that, and I'll mention them as I get there. But that's the general outlay. I'm going to introduce these folks in 1 second. What we should be seeing in the background here are some of the winning artworks. This piece here is by Won Jun Han. It's the first place winner. It's the piece that's featured on the cover. It's called Frozen. And honestly,
lights.
What's that?
Dim the lights.
Well, what do you think, guys? I mean, I want you to be able to see the speaker too, and I want them to be able to read with light. So it's not the best, but you know what? Really the best way to check out the artwork? Right there. $10 in the back of the room is the best $10 you'll ever spend. All that money that goes into these magazines goes right into the contest funds, and we just put that into making new copies for next year. So it just means that if you buy a copy tonight, then what you're actually doing is you're buying a copy for somebody for next year. So that's a good thing. Not that they would get a free copy because you paid for one or something. Our winners do get free copies, and the judges get copies. So you're buying a winner a copy if you do that. Okay, so please check these out. And one of the nice things about the magazine is that we do have these great color photographs in here. It looks fantastic. And that brings me to the last group of people that I have to thank before we can get started. And that is the interns for this year. The interns have been fantastic. They help to sort all of the entries when they come in. Before that, they're out making posters and putting them up, promoting the contest, getting people to follow us on Facebook, getting people to follow us wherever they can, going out to POBEV and to Helicon West, trying to get people interested, excited, and hooked into the network of people who are following contests so that we can get information out to them. They're making presentations to USA to get funding for more contest money for next year. They produced this magazine. They've copy edited this magazine. They've worked with the winners. They've got the thing ready to go, and then they've laid this out with tons and tons of work. And I don't know if anyone's checked this out yet or not, but one of our pieces is this really awesome piece of nonfiction. It's the first place undergrad nonfiction winning piece by Crystal Henderson, and it's got this. Part of it is that it's got this. There's like a visual element to it, right? And Allie Madden was our intern. She worked tirelessly to make this actually happen. Maybe this doesn't look hard to you, but when you're laying these things out in InDesign, this means hard work. And then when you have to change something on this page over here because something wasn't right, and then you realize later, oh, now this is all messed up again. You have to do it again. She did it like 8 times. So she was a real trooper. She made this thing happen, and all of our interns, they worked so hard to make this happen. Can we please have Caitlin Erickson, Shay Larson, and Allie Madden come on up and just could you guys all just please help me to thank them with a round of applause for all of this. Take credit for the fabulous wrapping job, but as you can see, this is University Bookstore 100% thanks to all 3 of you. Fantastic job, fantastic magazine. We're so excited to have it. All right, without much further ado, let's get this show on the road. We'll start tonight with our first place winners. We're going to hear in this order from Kendall Pack, Caitlin Erickson, Tina Sitton, Mitch Hawk, Crystal Henderson, and Stacy Danetsosi. That is in order. The first group is our first place graduate winners in fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. And then our undergraduate winners in fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. So what I would like for each reader to do, when you come up, would you just please, just again, tell everybody who you are, because they're not going to remember, just say your name, and then say the title of the piece that you're about to read, and again, remind them that it's, fiction or nonfiction or poetry. I hope everybody's going to get it if it's poetry, but sometimes people can't tell the difference between fiction and nonfiction, and that can be scary for people. So, so let them know if it's true or not. I guess that's what I'm saying. So, without any further ado, let's hear from Kendall Pack.
It's an accessory.
You're allowed to hold this.
Thank you. I'll try both. Okay. No. I'm Kendall Pack. First place for graduate fiction. Now, I'm only going to be able to read 7 minutes worth anyway, which there's no way I can get through the whole thing. So I figure I'll tell another story first and then give you an even shorter teaser. It's not another story I wrote. No, don't worry. I'm not like, here's some new work. Give you a short teaser so that you go buy the book. Speaking of which, I have I have two $10 bills in my pocket. So if you have a 20 and you would like to buy one of those, I'm not joking, ask me and I will give you 2 10s so that you can buy the book for just $10. But this first story I want to tell is the day that we were supposed to turn in all of our submissions. Several of the graduate students were pretending they were too busy to. And so the day after, or like the hour after we were supposed to have turned it in, Charles sent us all this email. And he said a lot, but the central question of it, the thing that sticks out in my mind was, what the hell? We're giving you this opportunity, right? This is an opportunity for you to publish. And this is your career. This is what you want to do. So why aren't you publishing? And so we all very sheepishly turned things in. And then I ended up winning first place. And so then I, with my tail between my legs, sent Charles an email and said, thank you for giving me the push to submit to Scribendi. And he sent an email back that simply said, more like a kick in the ass. And so I want to say thank you to Charles and for everyone who puts together Scribendi, because it's a great opportunity for us who are in the English program and outside of the English program to get published, even here, right here on campus, and know, hey, someone actually wants to read our stuff, and it gives us that boost we need to continue trying to publish. So, and what does that give me? 5 minutes now?
I think you have 3 minutes left.
3 minutes, okay. Okay, so I'm going to read just a small portion of my piece, Last Lovers on Mars. Daniel, laying in bed beside his wife, Elise, pressed down on the power button on his laptop. The base of it grew warm on his thighs as the screen illuminated the small bedroom. Elise rolled over, pulling the blanket tight between them. Daniel looked at her back, her skin exposed at the neck, pale and freckled. She mumbled something, maybe a call of turn that off or go to sleep, but then she fell silent. He reached over and touched the base of her neck with his fingertip, tracing the islands of freckles, connecting them with the path of his hand. Hold me, she muttered. He moved the computer to his side and put one arm over her. Hair covered her face, long golden strands, and he brushed them aside to kiss her cheek. I'm going to stay up and work a little. Is that okay? He asked, caressing her shoulder. She turned, the hair falling away from her face. What are you working on? Just this essay for class, he responded, turning back to the computer and opening the web browser. Which class? She asked. He stared at the screen for a moment, then looked back at her. Oh, just that paper for engineering. Babe, look. Nate has pictures of his stupid baby up. He turned the screen towards her. I thought you were writing, she mumbled. He looked at the back of her head for a moment, wondering where between reality and dream her mind stood. He wondered if the computer on his lap was analogous to the dreams in his head, a fiction presented as reality that he might experience but never exist in. Yeah, sorry, he said, and turned the screen away from her. You and the stranger both like role play. Say hi. Stranger, hello. You, hi. Stranger, ASL. You, 24, male, Texas. Stranger is disconnected. Start a new conversation? You and the stranger both like role play. Stranger, hi. You, hi. Stranger, male or female? You, male. Stranger is disconnected. Start a new conversation? In their first 3 months of marriage, Daniel and Elise Garner engaged in sexual congress an average of 2 times per day. Their highest number of coital encounters in a single 24-hour period was 6, while their lowest was 0. They only missed 1 day, and it happened to be the day that Elise was sick with the flu, so it hardly counts. Now, 4 months into the marriage, they've slowed to a little over once per day on average. This can be attributed to Daniel's work and school schedules, Elise's school schedule, and a waning in the wide-eyed fascination that accompanies inexperienced sexual partners in their first months of experience. Daniel believes that the main reason is a lack of fulfillment on her part, leading to a sense of the fact of the act as purely selfish from him. Elise might agree that sex seems to be an experience meant for the man more than the woman, seeing that she only receives the slightest pleasure, followed by frequent urinary tract infections. Thank you. Buy the book.
We're having some technical difficulties. Are we supposed to put this on?
You may hold it, you may clip it, you may ignore it, but you have to bellow that part.
Okay, I will do that. I will clip
Clipping
it.
it will allow you to read in a more natural style.
If I can figure out how the heck to clip it. Does that work? I'll just do this. This will be better.
That's perfect.
So yeah, this is my creative nonfiction piece. It's basically about nature. That's the best thing to do. I'm timing myself because otherwise this will be terrible. Okay. Colby moved into my school in 6th grade. His hair looked like he spread gel across his palm and then fanned it across his bangs, so it curved across his head like a crown. We traded Harry Potter trivia. We teased each other endlessly. I told everyone I hated him, and then wrote fluttering journal entries about him in the lamplight of my bedroom. In junior high, his goofy features turned handsome. He became popular. He took up diving and part-time jobs. He took pretty girls to dances. And then, while hiking in Snow Canyon his sophomore year of high school, he took a misstep, fell, and died. Before his last hike, Colby turned to his family and said he was off to bigger and better things. I imagine he tipped his baseball cap at them before turning and striding away. The words, printed in the newspaper 5 months after his fall, haunted me. I envisioned him trekking through white-topped canyons, shoes scuffing through red sand. I could see him looking out over a misty landscape, hands furrowed into his hips, breathing southern air laced with juniper and sand deep into his lungs. And then, on his way back to camp, a slip, or maybe a crack, and then mangled limbs at the bottom of a 100-foot drop. In my mind, I saw Colby, who never stopped moving, not even in the dead of class, completely still, curled on the ground as though sleeping, blood pooling into a pillow around his head. And then I saw his family, his sister and 2 little brothers and parents, heavy with grief, haunted by the same words, bigger and better things, a path we couldn't follow. From then on, I hated cliffs and drop-offs. Colby hiked all the time. He had good shoes and experience. What chance did I stand? On the requisite family vacation hikes, I hugged the walls, hung onto the rails placed for hikers' convenience, gasped and clutched at my chest any time I heard traction slip. All I could see while hiking next to ledges was me sailing over as though carried by water, plummeting into paling trees on the Oregon coast or sharp cutting sandstone in the southwest, disappearing forever after one misstep. Okay, and then fast forward to Zion National Park. And then I lost my spot. That's cool. Okay, we planned on hiking to the Emerald Pools. The trail was simple, curvy, and steep, but paved. We passed children who only came up to the hem of our shorts and hikers hunched over walkers. Near the trail entrance, we saw a doe posing for photographs a few feet off the path. She stood on a deep incline facing the trail, her pretty face and overstated eyes pointed toward her admiring fans. Her stance looked remarkably like Bambi, and she stayed still despite more and more people gathering to take pictures. I bet the park rangers put her up to it, Aiden said, glancing at me sideways. Maybe she gets a cut of the profits. Because deer care so much about money. Some might. We followed the trail through shaded and sunny areas as we made our way towards Heaps Canyon, where high, sheer walls were rounded, like someone had taken a swipe at it with a scythe. Along the trail, cottonwood trees stuck out at strange angles and diagonals, and I didn't see a single trunk standing straight up and down. Early spring made everything lush and green, a rarity in the desert. The air became cooler as we gained elevation and moved deeper into the U-shaped canyon. As we rounded a corner, I heard a trickling in the distance. As we approached the lower emerald pool, I felt like I stood inside a handmade teapot. The curved walls, streaked poppy red and rust, the color of a wound, came to a sharp circular edge at the top where I imagined the lid could go. As most of the water slipped down the smooth rock rather than cascading over the ledge above, the walls shone like gloss pottery after the kiln. The trail followed the natural curve of the formation, and the environment went from serene, green, and well-paved to wet, muddy, and slippery. Water surrounded us. Pebbles clung to the railing separating the hikers from the pool. Thin sheets made its way down the wall, and millions of drops tumbled down from somewhere above us. The ground became slick sandstone like the walls. In other spots, red-orange mud clung to my shoes, squelching with every step. I saw the trail curve along the bowl and go up and out of it, and I saw unprotected from any type of railing. That's where the trail led, and fear, like a canteen filling water, began to splash in my stomach. I clung to the railing, even though my hands ached from cold and my fingers threatened to slip away at any moment, and made my way around the lower pool. It wasn't very deep. I could see the uneven array of large rocks at the bottom. If I fell, I would probably hit them and break my back. There was a guy who came and talked to my 4th grade class who did that. He jumped into Lake Powell, and there was a sandbar just skimming beneath the surface of the water, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. I never wanted to go to Lake Powell after that. We reached a portion of the trail where chains drilled into the wall of the bowl replaced the railing. The chain felt just as wet and cold and slippery, but the edge now lay open. There is no rail to brace against, just slick sandstone that can send someone over in seconds. Although my chest felt tight and I kept seeing nothing but blood and broken limbs, I wanted to keep going. I clenched the chain and would not let go, not even to let people pass. I pressed myself as close to the cold, water-covered wall as I could, but I could not let go. I climbed higher and higher and began to have some hope that I would be just fine when the chain stopped. The trail became a rough set of muddy sandstone stairs. They were not straight, but rather went up in opposing diagonals. One step tilted toward the pool, another towards the wall. They were uneven, no more than 4 feet wide, and wet. Mud spread across the stairs like thick frosting. Okay, I'm going to stop there so I can also read poetry. Okay, I'm going to read 2 of my poems, mostly because I can't find the other poem. So, you get 2 of them, hooray! At least they're both like related thematically, that's cool. Okay, Thaw. Wait, that's not the one I want. This is the one I want. Okay, rewind. Walking to Tandoori after freezing rain. It rained in spurts all day, and drops eased themselves over snow and slick metal of cars, smoothed into sheets that students skidded and skated across to get to class. The Indian place is a block from my house. I walk there in the dark, breath puffing like cigarette smoke, cleats clinging to my boots. Ice sounds like gravel under my weight. Shards, like frosted glass, pile in corners of parking lots and sidewalks. It's been so cold I forgot the sound of water dripping. Bitter cold, the sting of frost pricks exposed skin in seconds. Now, water drips methodical from bare branches, splashing craters onto the ice below, thawing like frozen meat. The metal studs attached to my boots clack against the sidewalk where no ice exists to sink into. I wait for my food in a red-painted lobby and carry the fragrant bag home, walking gingerly, as though the ground is a new bruise. Cinnamon, cumin, and cream fill the apartment as I spoon rice and masala into one heavy white bowl. Outside, icicles drip onto the walkway, creating pockmarks of crusted snow. The drops lull like a heartbeat in the muffled night. And now Thaw. We sit on knotted benches in the steam-soaked rental hut of a small-town skating rink, breath puffing steam as we lace worn skates to our feet. College students in faded hoodies and kids in puffed-up parkas surround us, fill the air with chatter and condensed breath. Outside, the air, dry, cold, cracking, pulls bodies close. Our skates glide over ice lacerated with cuts and curls of blades before ours, powdered snow scattering in the breeze. You coax me along, your voice smooth, counteracting the panicked notes of mine. Just look a few feet ahead, you say. Look where you want to end up. I wobble toward the goal, an evergreen shaded black in the streetlights. I fear the snap of fractures and the stretch of sprains that come with the inevitable fall. I fear dragging you onto the ragged ice with me. But you skate next to me, matching my erratic glides, our hands laced, fingers frozen. At home, you drip soft wax onto my back as I lay spread across my sheets like Venus of Urbino. It melts ice in my muscles, warmth spreading like steam. You aim wax at my spine. Heat blooms like forget-me-nots. When we sleep, twisted in check sheets, I lay on your chest and listen to your heartbeat pulsing like hers against your ribs. My palm resting on your stomach thaws. Thank you. that's just not going to happen. And this thing.
Remind me who you are.
Oh yeah, I'm Tina. Hey. So I'm going to be reading poetry and fictions, but first it's going to be poetry. So we don't want to confuse people, right, Charles? Yes, because people get confused. You guys don't get confused. I don't know how that. Okay, so first one is poetry, and you'll notice the rhyme schemes in doing formal poetry, and you'll hear the refrains in there. So this first one's called El Camino, and El Camino in Spanish means the way. This comes from the El Camino de Santiago de Compostela. So it's a pilgrimage that people go on, and so just know that that's what El Camino means. El Camino, for my son, James. Come, little pilgrim, pull on your jute sack. I'll find a way for us. God's call, cat's eye, muslin shoes will grind away. Sandstone, old stone, relic bone. Between alcazars and ojalaques, ricocheting souls, stab stones, stamp and wind their way. Miracles, double miracles to elicit more miracles. And here sutures the relationship between holy and commercial. Cloth binds both ways. Forget the vomit and the piss and the crushed wine cups on San Fermin's streets. Reach low, hear cockles, feel shells. Santiago's scallop shells remind the way. Spanish olives drop under the shade of the Torre de Bartolomé. Outside the hospice, homeless men lie on benches to protest in guitar notes rhymed away. Stories of French sieges, secret bodega doors sprung to Ebro's bank, but stories are cotton blossoms padded with silk and seem double-lined anyway. And before the pilgrim's lips graze or profane the psalms, razor cut the palm, down the center, see the blushing pulp, and peel the rind away. Did you know that the world divided for you? That Iberia fell for you? That your name took a stone boat to Padrone and climbed away? Does it matter that a field of stars wrote you down in a book, buried under Galician sand and soot to lead the minds away? But let Mother tell you, James, as we walk against the sunflowers, it's a fool's cap across the brow that blinds the way. Okay, this next one is another Hazal, which is similar in form. If I can find it. It's called The Other Side. The Other Side. Let's break all the pieces, kaleidoscopic traces with reflectors on the other side. Elysium fields and beaches wait for Andromache's Hector on the other side. I search language after language to find your grammatic placement, just to know what happens to specters on the other side. On a parchment paper map emerges a deadly picture, to step through silver Coptic code and leave a negative balance. The image fractures on the other side. I turn out your hound's tooth pockets like flagships, sails empty, then scrub your fingerprints from cupboard doors. I'm left a recollector on the other side. We can touch the relic races, hard leather faces, if we keep our fingertips white and pure. You and I, in our goodliest of graces, will be the resurrectors for others. Besides, think of the living dead, embrace them. Vibrant ghosts will give us their secrets through lattice windows. Gem glass, red, orange, blue, painted in creases. Words etched there on the other side. The sacred door, knock, knock, a tax echoes in small spaces. Peace be unto you and yours, or whisper our lines like actors on the other side of the curtain. We'll climb out through the trap floor.
Good God, we can even be debt collectors. On the other side of the boneyard, we'll play games like we did when we were kids. Hide behind the wet headstones. We'd walk out as proper bone inspectors for the others. Side by side, Sister Christina, Brother Ben, we'll count their iron crosses, gloat with our pink skin. We can do it all, dear brother, if you just come back here from the other side. So this next one, I have another poem, but I think time-wise, we will just forego it. We'll skip to the fiction. So, oh no, I just missed my spot. Sorry, 1 second. These new contraptions, you touch them for 1 second. This one is Throwing Stones. This is a fiction piece that I wrote. It's about growing up and understanding sin and, I don't know, who we are in the world. As Ima waded in the cool water, her toes kicking up small puffs and curls, she got up enough courage to ask her abuela, "If Papa is Basco, does that mean I'm Basco too?" "Partially, yes," her abuela answered slowly. "Are you Basco?" "No, mijita. Me and your mama are Castellanas." "So I'm different from your mama?" Ima asked quickly, still kicking up more puffs. "Not really," her abuela flustered a little. "The man who hurt my..." Ima shrugged the words away, took a deep breath, and continued. "The man, he said, he called my papa a maqueto. Am I maqueto too?" Her abuela didn't answer, but her blue eyes became glassy, polished like the water as she stared straight into Ima's large brown eyes, before she lowered her gaze to pick up another stone, smoothing it over and over with her plump thumb. "Can I tell you a story?" she finally asked. Ima nodded her head yes, and her grandmother started to tell her her favorite story, the one with the 3 brothers and the one sister who was secretly a princess. How this sister had saved her brothers from the giant by listening to the old woman and not giving in to her pride. Ima imagined herself in the story, standing in the grand church, ready to marry the prince, and for a moment she'd forgotten the horrible things she saw a few nights before. Her grandmother stopped and called her over. Ima's skin was getting red from the cold water. Her grandmother sat her on her lap, wrapped her skirt around Ima's legs, rubbed the cloth across her skin, then tucked one corner of the hem under her knee to keep it tight. Then she wrapped her larger arms around Ima's small bare ones. "Mijita," she said, "I want you to take these pebbles one by one and squeeze them, all the bad memories into them, all the bad thoughts and all the bad things that hurt your heart, and then..." Abuela threw a pebble into the pool with a hollow plump. "You let the river take it." Ima looked at her grandmother. "Will they be okay, abuela?" "I don't know." "I know, my child, but of course they will be okay." Her abuela smoothed her dark hair. "Do you hate me, abuela?" Her abuela whispered as if her breath had been sucked out of her. "No, never. No one is mad at you. But why? This is sin, isn't it? I couldn't remember the child's prayer. I didn't know how to confess. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up. I was mean. No, this is not your fault. This is not sin, okay? We will go and visit them in the hospital after we leave. It's going to be okay. Vale?" Ima nodded okay. "This is how we heal, mijita." Abuela took another rock in her palm and, like a prayer, let it flit into the river. Thank you.
Does it work? Yeah, it does work. Okay. My name is Mitch Hawk, and I got read a story that took first for undergraduate fiction, and I was trying to pay attention to the previous people. I think I might be the first one to swear, so...
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry.
Kendall swore twice in his opening remarks.
Oh, that's true.
That was off the cuff. Yours is in print.
Thanks, guys. It's titled, The Last Stop for Bus 59. I repeatedly adjusted myself on the plastic blue seat cushion. Well, before I start, I should say, because it's a fiction and I'm going to be weaving it out, it's a young kid in middle school, so. I repeatedly adjusted myself on the plastic blue seat cushion. Butt imprints from strangers were permanently worn into it. A thin piece of plastic, my thrift store jeans, and Spider-Man underwear were all I had to separate me from the cold metal. I took my puffy gray Disneyland winter coat off and folded it underneath me, but quickly returned it to my shaking shoulders. Last year, Carl, our bus driver, promised the heater would be fixed by now. I continued moving every couple of minutes from the aisle seat to the window seat, following the air my tiny frame pushed from one side to the other. I finally gave up on trying to catch the part of the seat with the airiest cushion and looked over the messages people had left scribbled on the back of the seat in front of me. They were all the same. The majority were just bad words we weren't supposed to say out loud, like shithead and bastard. On Monday, when I sat down on the bus after school, there was a new message. No one likes you, jack off, you faggot. I looked at my backpack to see if I could find anything to cover up the black marker, but I was only able to find half a black colored pencil in the pile of pencil shavings and tiny ripped up papers at the bottom. I scribbled over it, but the message was still clear. I heard Tony and the cooler kids laughing at me from the back of the bus. I brought a marker the next day and was able to cover it up better, but it doesn't really matter because I still remember what the black blotch says. I kneeled down on the floor beside the wheel bump and peeked around the corner to get a better view of the back. Tony was the last stop on the bus route and his friend Riley was with him. Tony was fat, but for some reason I always called it big boned. His opposite, Riley, was a twig, only a little bigger than me. Tony looked right at me and barked, "What are you looking at, jack off?" He yelled it too loud and Carl was able to hear it over the "Down on the Corner Out in the Street" song playing over the speakers. "Hey, Tony, come on, man, why do you have to be so mean? No name calling here," Carl said through the speakers. I looked at him over my shoulder and he shot me a wink and a smile. I turned back, facing my seat, and pulled out my drawing notebook that my dad got me for my birthday. The 100 pages were already almost halfway full after only having it for 1 month. Even though my dad forgot my exact birthday and gave it to me a couple days late, I was happy he remembered what I had asked for. Most of the pages were drawings of different things I imagined I would be doing with my mom if she were still here. We were riding horses, fishing, feeding chickens, and reading at night next to the wood-burning stove in our old house. Whenever I added her to my drawings, I would have to go back and change the quiet, straight-lipped faces of me and my dad. My favorite is of my mom reading my favorite book, Hatchet, by the light of the stove. Father didn't really care too much for reading, but whenever we read Gary Paulson books, he would lean against the wall behind us and listen as Mom talked in accents and changed the intensity and softness of her voice with each new scene. Dad thought no one could see him listening, but my mom and I would smile at each other while we saw his reflection in the china cabinet near the front of the room. Looking at this picture, I could almost always concentrate and hear her voice reading the opening story of the plane crash. Then I could close my eyes and listen to her forever. While listening to my mom's quiet and panicky voice, a loud grinding noise exploded from underneath the bus and brought me back to reality. Carl stopped moving his arms frantically and looking at the different dials on the dash. I struggled putting the pencils back in the case, then zipped them shut in my front small pocket of my backpack. "Kids, everything's fine," Carl was interrupted by an even louder explosion right underneath me. The weight of the bus shifted and I fell into the side wall, hitting my head hard. The grinding noise was even louder now and I could see out my window thousands of tiny sparks flying around the air, being extinguished by all the snow on the ground. I imagined a large fireball flying through the deep white snow. Susie's screaming was even louder than the broken bus, and Johnny was holding her tight, trying to calm her down. I was shaking so bad that grabbing my prayer rock from my pants pocket seemed harder than coloring inside the lines. My grandma gave me the tiny rock just a month before she passed away. I finally got a hold of it and held it out in my clenched fists. I squeezed my eyes shut and started praying. Please save us, God. Please save us. The cold air in the bus was quickly tainted with the burnt rubber, but we were still going fast. I peeked one eye open and watched a blur of a tree fly by the window. I covered it again and kept them closed. I could feel the bus started to slide sideways. Something warm was streaming down my head and onto my right cheek. Tony was crying in the back, and Riley kept yelling, "We're gonna die!" His voice was higher than usual. We hit head-on into the snowbank. The collision threw me into the back of the seat in front of me, and I dropped to the floor. I coughed and blew dust out of the steel ridges on the floor. I slowly sat up into my seat and looked at the large dent my body made in the back of the seat. There was a little bit of dark red blood splattered on the seat I never noticed before. I heard Carl's loud army boots walking down the ribbed metal aisle. Susie's crying changed from yelling to whimpering, and Ryan was trying to calm Tony down. Carl was going outside to look at the engine to find out what was wrong. Johnny ran past me and followed Carl outside. Johnny was always talking about his Hot Wheels collection and couldn't pass up on the opportunity to look at an engine. I watched as Carl tried to refuse him, but he gave in pretty quickly, smiling and putting his arm around Johnny as I went outside. I heard Susie yell, "Stop it!" I turned around and saw Tony rummaging through her backpack. "What's this?" Tony asked Susie. "Looks like we found something to blow up this weekend, Riley." Tony threw a blonde doll at Riley, who caught it and shoved it in his backpack. "Give her back," Susie pleaded. "You just sit there and make sure your big brother doesn't find out," Riley said. Tony continued going through her things. I stood up and said, "Give her doll back." "What did you say?" Tony asked. "Come say it to my face." I sat back down in my seat, scared to face Tony with Carl and Johnny still outside. I looked down at the empty part of the seat and saw my prayer rock shoved between the backrest and buttrest. I pulled it out and knelt up on the seat. Susie was starting to cry and Tony was pretending to kiss another doll on the lips. I held my arm back, "Please don't hit Susie," and threw it fast into the air. I'll end there.
So, my name is Crystal Henderson, and I'll be reading from my nonfiction piece today. And I just wanted to apologize in advance. I'm recovering from a severe concussion, and this is the first time I've been standing and have not been in a nightgown for like over a week. So if I slip up a few times, I will probably consider that a victory. The title is "We Are as Strong as a String, Stuck Inside of an Ice Cube, Stuck Inside of an Iceberg. We are as unto diamonds." And that was taken from the slam poet Anis Mochgani in his poem Invincible, which I won't take credit for, but I'll take credit for the rest. Junior year of high school, and who can say we are too old for this? The trundle is pulled up to match the height of the bed, and 7 girls form the sprawl of a pack across the mattresses. Lissa is to my left, her front facing towards my side. Jess is on my right, our shoulders, hips, and the edges of our feet touching. Kitty perches diagonally at our mingling feet, refusing sleep. Kitty, the essence of feline, stirring the rest of us up. Scary, forceful, hopeful jungle animal in a gymnast body, silky, dramatic pajamas. She's putting my feet to sleep. Katie is curled in a ball next to Jess, listening. She repeats the ends of sentences as the others talk. Finally, you have Emily and Rachel to the far right, both of them with hands clasped over their chests. Rachel's mermaid hair spills onto Emily like a second blanket. We all weave in and out of 3 conversation threads, heat and stretches, yawns melting over me. All the days and nights we've spent together turn into this night, this dog pile of laughter and half sleep. Alyssa captivates Katie and Kitty with the retelling of her first kiss. Caleb's braces caught hers and their lips pulverized. She'd swallowed blood. Rachel and Emily convulsed in familiar skittishness at the thought of passion, specifically touching. Katie laughed at them. Katie's been around the hard blocks. She acts like she knows her shit. We believe she does. And I'm still, staring around my childhood bedroom. Soft periwinkle walls with Victorian trimming are covered in layers of photos, notes, quotes, get well soon cards, The top layers chronicle the most recent years. Beneath them, a girlhood spins towards its genesis. I match the faces of these girls in my bed to the height of the wall. Their smiles and scowls, scribbles and notes on the backs of math tests create its texture. I'm throbbing in the exact center of the nucleus of our beast, its brain and pulse. We built this together. This den I slowly close my eyes in. I know all of them will be there, eventually breathing slow and deep, mumbling, farting, kicking ribs, subconsciously negotiating blanket allotment. Come morning, we'll all wake, waiting for everyone to open their eyes before we argue about making waffles or pancakes for breakfast. We've always worried about it changing. We still do. And it does. Jess, Emily, and I are married. Rachel might be close. Alyssa is serving an LDS mission. Katie and Kitty are still looking for boys, usually. Sometimes they are busy in their wild card souls making things like working too many hours and getting more and more clever. I sleep next to Alan Henderson now, piled up and tangled into each other, mumbling, farting, kicking ribs, subconsciously negotiating blanket allotment in the thinly insulated basement apartment we can hardly afford. We're a different kind of animal, vulnerable and still slightly imbalanced, integrating male and female parts a bit like cubs, a lingering sense of puppy love, always on the edge of something. I am now two animals, young and ancient. I am finding ways to inhabit the skins of both. This is me being a woman, holding the hand of a wolfish girl. This is me being a wolfish girl, steadily squeezing a woman's hand, keeping her wild and vibrant, always on the edge of something. Recently, Katie and I were sitting on a cold curb. Our conversation turned in intricate lines, discussing Rachel's current boyfriend and our continuing desire for cussing and delinquency. We were missing our woman. I poked a pebble with a stray stick and suddenly knew something. Katie, I figured it out, the thread. I've never known what to call it. We're all angry babies. That's what we have in common. I'm charming to almost everyone for some reason. Rachel is a forever genius mystery seahorse. Emily is a lamb herding lambs and a man-snatcher. Alyssa is Gollum crazy and likes human fetuses. Kitty, in the grandest display of depth I've encountered, admits to shallowness and was a damn talented cheerleader. Jess is champion of the private life, the baking life, and a hippie child. You are the boulder of hate that everyone pours secrets into, the one that is important and hard and that gave Emily a concussion. But we're all angry babies, and we always talk about